And generally an overextended gap down or a red day has that nice plunge right in the morning. And I didn't care about maximizing profits, thinking about nail and bail. Like nail, bail, make my money, and then close the laptop and go to class.
What got you from this loser side of the chart to this winning side? What happened here in January 2018?
You know, it's something I teach people all the time is eventually you have to take this like a professional. And you can't be going out anymore, and you have to be focused and specific about what you're trading. So about 2.5 years into my journey, I realized that I was losing on my longs. I don't know what that is.
It's the clicker.
Oh, I don't know how to use that. I was losing on my longs, and I was $18,000 in the profit on my shorts. And so I made that conscious decision that I can no longer long, and that I have to short because that's where my consistency is. And at that point, I had watched so many webinars, I had watched Trading the Tickers, and I'd watched so many video lessons, and I realized that I had watched way too much, and I had put so much information in my head that I was trading everything and anything, and it was allowing me to trade way too much. So I focused and I honed in and I redrafted what Gratani was, and I rewatched Trading the Tickers, and I watched all of his webinars, and I bookmarked them all, and I started really studying who Gratani was, because I knew I wanted to short sell, I knew he was the best in the biz. And that was huge. And right at 2018 is when I first saw sector momentum. I saw Bitcoin. I saw marijuana stocks going crazy. And, you know, Sykes has been trading for 20 years. And imagine how many hot sectors he's seen. And of course, we haven't seen anything recently, but I was finally prepared to nail a hot sector because I had been doing all of this advanced, again, I had studied for 2.5 years and I rehashed everything at 2.5 years. And I started to take it more professional. And I had found out where I wanted to be, how to short stocks that are red on the day, how to short OTC short setups, how to not short a stock that's a first green day going crazy, how to find where I'm consistent. And that was huge right there in 2018, and I finally found a sector where I could actually make some money, make 30% gains, 20% gains in a day, and be consistent about it. So that first 100K right there is Bitcoin and marijuana. I found my first hot sector, and I found out how to short sell.
But I mean, it was like this isn't even a gradual. This is just like a
Yeah, so I was a little bit of a gunslinger back then. I was definitely like putting in my whole account size and just wanting to nail everything as much as I could. But that was a different time. That was a very hot sector, and that's when, you know, stocks were going from 10 cents to 90 cents and putting in those 5 or 6 consecutive green days and then going red for the first time.
Why do you think it took you so long to learn this? Was there too much hair in your eyes so you couldn't see what was happening?
I think it's a lot of it is like.
And now is that why you wear the hat backwards to open your eyes?
I know. So sometimes I'd be in a trade and my hair would get in front of my face, and then I would
lose. You're like, yeah, right?
No. There's so much information out there that we don't know how to focus on specific setups that keep us consistent, and eventually your results become random, but you don't know where the randomness is because you're watching everything and anything. So when this really started blowing up, I was just telling some people, like when I had an overextended gap down and our OTC short setup the next day in the most hottest market that I've ever seen, the night before I would specifically study that chapter in whether it's a webinar from Gratani or it was Trading Tickers. I would re-watch that chapter the night before, so it was so refreshed in my mind. At this point, I've watched Trading Tickers 15, 20 times. I've watched all of his webinars 2 or 3 times. But it wasn't all at once. It wasn't like 6 hours, drill, drill, drill. It was specific and poignanted studying the night before to keep myself refreshed and rehearsed, ready to do exactly what Gratani did the next day, because this stuff repeats itself.
How did you do this? Because you did this all during college. How did you manage college with trading?
So a lot of it is picking strategies that fit your schedule. So I knew at 8 a.m., mid-market morning, I didn't want to be in the market anymore. I'm Pacific Standard Time, so I knew that I could trade from 6 to 8 a.m. And I knew from 6 to 8 a.m., I had to find a strategy that worked within those parameters. And generally, an overextended gap down or a red day has that nice plunge right in the morning. And I didn't care about maximizing profits. I was more thinking about nail and bail. Like nail, bail, make my money, and then close the laptop and go to class and do the rest of my day and just get my work done immediately in the morning. And the strategy that fit that kind of, I couldn't be buying afternoon breakouts or whatever it was.
Talk about now where, you know, you graduated college, you got $250,000 in profits, and you have this kind of self-sufficient strategy now. What's your life like? I'm homeless. No, it's really cool. You know, I've been able to, one of the things that I'm really appreciative of is that my dad's kind of older,
and he wants to travel because he's kind of retired right now. And had I had that 9-to-5 job, I wouldn't be able to travel with him right now. And specifically, I've been in Europe for the past 4 months, like all of summer, just traveling with my dad and hanging out with him, and my brother couldn't come because he had that 9-to-5 job. So it's given me the freedom to travel, live life, but also spend time with those that I love. And I know that, like in the beginning, we forget that we get into stock trading because it gives us that freedom. And too often we find ourselves at the screen for 6 to 8 hours a day, and that's not why we got in. So it's
Some people like it. Some people like the structure of like the normal thing.
But until you realize that watching stocks move pennies by pennies every day, it like debilitates your brain.
I agree with that. So, I actually think that, some people like spending the whole day in front of the computer and being degenerate, useless gamblers in life. But I think that it's actually worse because now you're looking at everything, you're sitting there, you have nothing really to do, and that forces you, or at least influences you, to take subpar trades.
I completely agree.
And that would hurt your overall performance. So it's counterintuitive. The harder you work, the less money you make, and you have no life.
You have to be so specific about what you watch. And most days, like, what makes you consistent isn't going to happen every day. So if you're watching every day, generally you're watching stuff that you shouldn't necessarily be watching, and you're learning the wrong lessons from that. You got to be specific about what you're watching and what you're trading.
So be specific. Explain your process, because I remember you were, in the challenge and you were asking like good questions. Like, what was your process? So you're watching the webinars, you're watching the video lessons. What was it?
So in the beginning, a lot of it was like ask good questions and be teachable. Like that was the number one thing. When in the beginning, someone would tell me like, okay, OTCs work this way and NASDAQs work this way. But then I would try to trade a NASDAQ like an OTC. I wasn't necessarily listening to what these people were blatantly telling me, that they're different. So in the beginning, it was, show up to the events, be immersed, get involved, ask good questions, and be teachable, be coachable. And then from there, it just became a refinement area where I just had to refine and look introspectively of what was going on and within myself.
What do you see most people having issues with? Because now people come up to you, they ask you questions. What are their issues and how do you help them?
I think the biggest issue with most people is over trading, having way too much to focus on and being all over the place. And you can't figure out, like I said earlier, like it's all random when you're trading way too much and you have 5 or 6 different trades, 7 trades in a week. That's way too much. And you can't figure out where you are consistent with that much randomness and that much hecticness.
So how many trades a week do you take now?
If I'm lucky, 2 or 3.
And what do you do with the rest of the time?
I play golf. I'm picking up golf.
Are you?
I am.
So you're like an old man already?
I'm working on it. Retired. I'm a retired trader.
Yeah, give him a round of applause. That's sick.
I do consider myself a retired trader. Like every day, I don't really want to trade anything. I don't really want to put up the money unless I absolutely have to. And I know exactly what that looks like now. So most days I don't see it, especially in the past 6 months when it's been a dry spell, unfortunately. But that will change. And for now, I know I could ease on the brakes and not be as caught up in what's not working.
Hey, Tim Sykes, Millionaire Mentor and Trader. Thank you for watching my videos. I hope that they help you. I want to share everything that I've learned over the years. You can check out more videos right over there. And also click subscribe so that you can watch all of these videos, get that knowledge, and become my next millionaire student.